Praise be Jesus Christ and Mary Immaculate. Welcome to this homily for the 29th Sunday in Ordinary Time. We're going to read from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 18, verses 1 through 8. In the liturgy for this 29th Sunday in Ordinary Time, the Gospel gives us a passage from Luke that centers on a parable told by Jesus. Luke introduces this parable by giving us its rightful meaning from the get-go. Jesus told them a parable about the need to pray always and to never lose heart. For centuries, Christian writers, monks, and the fathers of the desert have reflected deeply on what it means to pray without ceasing, since it was St. Paul who told the community at Thessalonica, but today's gospel adds something slightly different, in that Jesus isn't simply just asking us that we pray continuously, but that we pray without getting tired of praying. Can we get tired of praying? That's a good question. Do we get tired of praying? From experience, we know that the answer is yes, that we can grow weary of saying the same prayers, whether the liturgical prayers, the rosary, devotional prayers. But the prayers that Jesus speaks of us today is not merely the repetition of the same words. He tells the story of a widow who pleads for justice before a dishonest judge. A judge, as Luke literally says, of injustice. A judge of injustice. And at first, it may sound like Jesus is telling us that if we were persistent enough, or our insistence will eventually wear down even the hardest heart, like the judges. But Jesus, pay attention here, Jesus is not comparing God the Father to that unjust judge. Far from it. Still, it's true that many of us, even as believers, even as Christians, sometimes do approach prayer as if we must persuade God, convince God, or keep knocking until He gives us in. Maybe we've even done this ourselves, thinking that if we insist long enough, God will finally feel sorry for us and grant our request. Just think about the many prayers that we say, and even the many prayers that some bishop asks communities to pray after Mass every day, as if this is how we're going to convince God to do what is right. This attitude, though it may seem religiously, actually hides a subtle illusion. It's an attitude of someone who already knows what they want and only wants God to say yes. That's not real faith. It's more of a negotiation. It's religious, yes, but it's not filial. That's not how a child behaves. The prayer of faith doesn't start from what I want. A prayer of faith begins from who God is, our Father, who already loves us and already knows our needs and is already providing for us. This parable is intentionally paradoxical. It's intentionally that way. Jesus contracts two attitudes through one common experience, that of the widow. She's the center point. The widow represents weakness and vulnerability, the human condition after sin. She has lost the one who loved her and now stands defenseless. She is also an image of the early Christians in Luke's Gospel, the persecuted, those who are awaiting for justice, and those who find themselves in need. Since the fall, humanity often imagines God as a distant judge who must be convinced to act on our behalf. But is that really the purpose of prayer? To get what we want? To see our wounds healed and our injustices repaired? Or is it something deeper? At the end of the parable, Jesus asks a question that opens a much wider horizon. When the Son Man comes, will He find faith on earth? This is the key to understanding the passage. The parable isn't just about persistence, it's about faith. It's about waiting for Christ's return. We might think when He comes, He will finally do justice. The wicked will be punished, and those of us who have awaited prayerfully, faithfully, will be rewarded. But Jesus surprises us. He says that God will not delay in bringing justice to his chosen ones. He will act quickly to his chosen ones. God answers his chosen ones, not because they nag him, but because they are his own. They belong to him. They are not outsiders or nuances. They are his beloved. They are his elect. They are his children. So their prayer isn't an attempt to convince God. It's the expression of their relationship with God, a relationship of trust, love, and belonging. And here lies the heart of both faith and prayer. Faith is the relationship of one who has been chosen by the Father in the Son, called to share in the divine life. If you are chosen, you are child. This is the faith Jesus hopes to find when he returns. Faith of sons and daughters who know that the Father loves them. In that kind of faith, prayer becomes the living expression of the relationship itself. We pray not to change God's mind, but to remain in communion with him, and God listens immediately, not because he is pressured, but because he recognizes the voice of his children. St. Paul says, all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Every prayer is heard within that loving purpose, even when it doesn't seem to be, because God's justice is not about punishment or reward. His justice is to justify us, and we are justified by being recognized as his own. If this is our faith, then prayer can never stop. It can never disappear or fade away, because that would mean that our very identity as sons and daughters has faded. To pray always without losing heart means to live always in this relationship, trusting in a Father who listens, who loves, and who never tires of giving us his mercy. God bless you.